Welcome to Daily Life Connection. Thanks for joining me again today. We've just finished up a series on how Luke chapter 15, the story of the Father and the two sons, reveals the heart of God to us. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it immensely as we've gone through it. It was a suggestion of my wife Bonita to do that, and talking with her today and said, what else do you have to suggest? Well, what she suggested was, how about if I take some of the verses that have been really meaningful to me over the years and share how they've revealed the heart of God to me? So I'm going to do that. Today I want to talk about the power of God. You know, one of the verses to me that over the years has been so meaningful, especially as a minister, was 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 20, when Paul said, I'm not going to preach with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the power of the Spirit, the power of God. That power of God, His ability to get done what needs to be done. In Psalm chapter 68 and 34, the writer says, proclaim the power of God. Proclaim the power of God. I love things that are powerful. I love powerful cars. Now, the car I have isn't very powerful. It's just a very economical car, which is a good thing. But it's not particularly powerful. So when you're out on the road and you step on the accelerator, it does pick up speed, but it's not spectacular. It's nothing that makes you go, whoa, that's nice. I have driven cars that have done that. When I was growing up, my dad had some really powerful cars. Probably wasn't the wisest thing for a teenage son driving, but I enjoyed that, and I love my powerful motorcycle that I have. 1700cc, 106 foot-pounds of torque. You see, I know the power stats for that bike, and when you crank the throttle on that thing, my goodness, you just feel that power right in your whole body feels the power of that thing, and it's exciting. That's the kind of power our God has. Our power has the God to get things done, no matter what needs to be done. You know, when I'm out in traffic, and I've ridden a lot of smaller bikes as well, and you're going up a hill or whatever, and you're trying to get past a vehicle, and you're thinking, boy, I hope I got enough power to make it past this vehicle before we get to the top of the passing lane. But you know, like with my big old Roadstar, man, I pull out and crank that throttle. There's no question it has enough power to get the job done. Well, that's our God. When we come to our God in prayer, see, and I think when we're coming to our Father in prayer, when we get before Him in prayer, it's like it's cranking the throttle up. It's releasing the power of God into our situations. Oh, that's good. Just like when I crank the throttle on my Roadstar, it releases gas into the engine, and those explosions begin to shake, rattle, and roll, and it does what needs to be done. As I'm praying, I'm releasing the power of God into my situations. And I know we don't always obviously feel that instant boost of power from God, but I believe with all my heart that in the spiritual dimensions of life, that power of God is releasing what needs to be done. That's good news for us today. Whatever our situation, whatever we find ourselves in, and we're finding, God, I need some passing power. I need to be able to get up this hill and get past this obstacle that's in my road. We go to God in prayer, and we don't always know what. You see, I don't understand all the throttle cable and how carburetors work and chokes and vacuum, and I don't even need to understand that. All I need to know is when I turn the handle, power comes out of that engine. All I need to do, my faith, if you will, my faith is this. When I pray to the Father, I believe He is releasing power into my situation that I'm praying about. Yeah, the enemy would love to say, oh, you didn't feel anything happen, so maybe there was no power there. It's not true. We don't always feel what's happening in the spiritual. You see, this is good. Paul said we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Our wrestling, our struggling is not with the realities of this physical dimension. It's the spiritual dimension which influences the physical dimension. That's where the power of God needs to be released. And when we pray, our God is powerful and releasing his power into the spiritual dimension where things need to get done so that it will impact us as we live and walk through this physical dimension as well. That's good news, isn't it? You know, when I'm on that hill trying to pass and I open the throttle on my bike, the gas doesn't get me up the hill, but it empowers the engine, which will get me up the hill. When I pray, I may not instantly feel I'm up the hill, but God's releasing his power into the spiritual dimension that will get me where I need to be in that situation. I hope that makes some sort of sense to you today. It does to me, but I hope it does to you as well. The one thing we can be thankful for is our God is a God of power. He is a God of power, and he will release that power into situations on our behalf when we pray. James 5:16 talks about that the heartfelt prayer of a righteous person makes tremendous power available, dynamic in its working, one translation says. That's the power of God. So I encourage you as you go to prayer today about whatever situations you're facing, just totally trust that God is releasing his power into those situations in the spiritual dimension and maybe into the physical dimension, which was wonderful as well. That's good news. Let's think about it today. God bless. We'll talk again tomorrow.